3, 2, and 1. Well, hey, friends, welcome into the TexAgs Rewind, presented by Specs, the 4-time National Retailer of the Year, here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. One day, we're going to do a TexAgs Hall of Fame of shows, TexAgs Live Hall of Fame. And I think this show today might be in the mix for that level of awesomeness. Agree?
I would agree.
Nick, agree?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about. I don't know why I just put the camera on you, Reese. That's who's talking. Signing day was good today. Trev Alberts, Dusty Dvoracek, a couple of current Aggie football players. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, the entire show was just wire-to-wire greatness. So who's on the Rewind? Did you just say it, or that's just who was on the show?
That's kind of, yeah. I mean, that's who was on the show. You got OB as well. You got Stephen McGee. You got Trev Alberts. You got Dusty Dvoracek. If you want to check out those Texas Aggies United interviews, maybe go to TexAgs.com and maybe you'll see it there. I don't know.
I think I heard a lot of Trump in your voice today, and the show was definitely better than this Rewind. But watch this Rewind. It's pretty good.
Cassius Howell. Yeah.
I like the name Cassius.
I do too. Cassius Howell may be, by the end of the year, we may be going back and saying, gosh, we had this guy criminally underrated at number 7.
By the way, Cassius Clay spelled his name differently, but it's the same name.
It's Cassius, yeah.
Cassius.
Yeah.
Anyway, where were we?
Yeah, like some people spell Olin with an A, but it's still Olin.
That's Allen.
No. O-L-A-N.
I'm kidding.
So you can spell it a little differently, but still Cassius. Look, I think Cassius Howell's one of those guys that I think he was the A&M's best defensive lineman in November.
Absolutely. And beyond. I'll give the USC game too, yeah.
Yeah, post-November, post-October. How's that? I think I remember him forcing a fumble, maybe getting a sack against Texas.
Yep.
I think he had a sack. Didn't he have a sack? Maybe forced a fumble against or an interception against USC. I mean, he was very active.
1 forced fumble against Texas, 2.5 tackles for loss, 6 tackles in that game.
Okay. What did he do against USC?
USC, I have 5 tackles, 1 sack, 13-yard loss, 1 pass breakup, 1 interception.
Yeah. So it was an interception. Yeah. He was extremely active, and we had heard good things about him before he came here, and then during the year, like, oh yeah, all right, but in November, he was exceptional. Except I'll say this though, I'm going to keep things balanced. I thought he needed to get better, and let's see if he does against the run defense. There's no doubt he can rush the passer. Mm-hmm. No doubt about that at all. And he had 4.5 sacks last year, and I don't know how many snaps he had, but it wasn't as many as the starters. I would set the over on him at 8.
I know they say your second year as a starter in whatever position, quarterback especially, the game starts to slow down. I recognize that. At what point did you feel the game slowing down? Like, was it during a practice? Do you have to go in games to feel it slowing down? Like, is it a couple games into it? Like, when do you actually see it and feel it?
For me, I felt it my sophomore year, going into my sophomore year in spring training. That was the first time I felt like the game really slowed down. I was playing fast, making decisions fast. I mean, I think it slowed down in the meeting room, but that's very different. I think when you have the bullets flying at you and things are moving, that's when you really get a feel for if the player is able to react and play at their speed, right? You don't want the game to ever slow someone down. We used to talk about that a lot, I think, with Jimbo's system, right? It just felt like we were thanking a lot, right? These 5-star wide receivers were out there thanking instead of playing. And so for me, that was the first time. Granted, I know we were an extremely complex offense, OB.
Well, I was certainly perplexed. You're more of a perplexed than complex offense.
Hey,
the reason why you had quarterbacks like Reggie, and then you had quarterbacks like Stephen, who could really throw the ball, and yet you don't want to.
I understand. I mean,
that's why I was perplexed.
Yeah, no, we actually, it's funny, we had a lot of checks. And of course, Sherman's system was very wordy because it's a West Coast system, but you get up the line of scrimmage in Fran's offense and you'd have 6 run checks in one play. So you got all these different plays you're running and different fronts and looks. And so it was a different version of complexity, albeit built around the run game and the option as opposed to pass game and protections and run pass skills. But
well, it's a great question. I mean, and I think the pace of it is what's going to be very interesting. I think you'll see, the football remain the football, but I think all the things outside of the actual football will be professionalized. I think, we've talked about this a little bit before. Eventually you're seeing more corporate sponsorships and partners in different areas, and I think there's some real opportunity for us there. How do you monetize outside the stadium? We've talked about outside events. All of those things are real. Some respects, some people might not like this, but at the end of the day, you can look at some of the areas where the NFL and pro sports have gone. I don't think we'll go that far, but the reality is they're sharing 50% of their revenue with players. We're sharing 22. Yeah. So it's not illogical for me to think that, the feel and the approach of some of our game is going to, transition more in terms of the professional experience. And so that's where we have to be critically careful, and we have to be thoughtful about how we do some of that modernization in a way that we don't, in any way take away from the uniqueness of what Texas A&M's culture is, not just as a football program or an athletic department, but as an entire institution. So, I think it's some of that. I think the biggest difference in college athletics is, first of all, I think it's very much undervalued. If you look at corporate sponsorships, and I don't know if these numbers are accurate, but the Houston Texans versus Texas A&M, the numbers are extraordinarily different. Much more for them. And yet, when you look at the total number of people who call themselves a fan of that, so I think college athletics is undervalued, number one. So we have to accelerate that kind of growth. I think it's the whole monetization of the brand that we've really never had to think through, But I think that in large part is where it is.
I like the Aggies. I put them at 15 in our preseason poll, and I struggled. There's three teams that I don't do my preseason poll based off of where you finished last year. I do it based off where I think you're headed this year. And everyone can do it however they want, but that's kind of the way I look at it. And I really like this Aggies team. I've got 4 at the top in the SEC. I think the SEC is wide open, first and foremost. I got 4 at the top, and then that's LSU, that's Bama, that's Texas, that's Georgia, not particularly in that order. And then right after that, I'm high on Florida. I'm high on Texas A&M, and it's not because I got the helmet behind me and I went to school there, but I'm high on Oklahoma. And I think those 3 programs take a jump, and it's not going to surprise me if Ole Miss, if South Carolina, and maybe Tennessee take a step back. That's kind of the way I see it. And so I look at Texas A&M as a team that I think I pinned it at 9 wins. I took the over on 8.5. But would it shock me if they were able to get to 10? No. I think that game week 3 in South Bend is crucial. I think it's not necessarily, it's not an SEC game, but where are you? Because I personally think Texas A&M offensive line is going to be really, really good. I think that's going to be a strength of theirs. At what point do you get Le'Veon Moss back? I don't know. I know I've read different reports. He'll be back for that week 3 matchup. We'll see. But you get Reuben Owens back. I can't wait to see him. And so I just think that with Marcel, who from my understanding has improved as a passer, I think you're going to have a little bit more balance year 2 with him and his coordinator. I like that mix. And I got to tell you, I think KC Concepcion is one of these most under-talked about transfer portal gets in the country. I love this guy at NC State. They played him at running back. They played him at receiver. They gave him the ball in a multitude of ways, could beat you over the top, underneath shallow routes, gets open, really good in small spaces, good with the ball in his hands. I think Colin Klein is going to really utilize him in a lot of different ways. So I'm high on them. And look, I'm a Mike Elko fan. I thought, as you guys saw when he was the defensive coordinator in College Station last time, and they were a top 5 defense in the country, we saw what he did at Duke. And the fact that after that USC game, he basically said, enough's enough. I'm making sure the defense improves from here.
Okay, Nygren. I'm not going to make you rhyme.
Okay,
but there were some wows, by the way. I checked.
I did. I saw some.
Yeah. On the TexAgs.com and on
Yeah,
YouTube, right?
Shout out to those people.
So now I need you to start off by using bow wow wow yippee yo yippee yay and then give us what to do.
Bow wow wow yippee yo yippee yay. You guys need to like, comment, subscribe, and come back tomorrow for more.
You started about to go into like a Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, I thought he
rap.
was going to keep the melody going, but he just dropped it.
I'm sorry.
That's good though. Pretty good. Very good. As the show was pretty good.